An all-time classic from the very first ball to the last, as the kids raised on T20 cricket start in the Test arena. From ramps to brain fades, bumps and barbecues, the Boxing Day Test had it all. Focus now turns to Sydney and the futures of Mitch Marsh and Rohit Sharma. Let's go around the wicket. Happy New Year and welcome to Around the Wicket. I'm Nerily Meadows, Callum Ferguson and Aaron Finch alongside me. Michael Clark to join us shortly to discuss what was an incredible test.
Yep.
Seven wickets fell in that final session. It was a beautiful display of Test cricket and why it's still the greatest form of the game. What did you make of it all?
Oh, unbelievable Test match. I think any test that goes deep into the last day proves why Test cricket is the biggest or the best format overall. And I mean, for Australia to hang in there for long enough, create the brain fade from Rishabh Pant and then to capitalise on it, amazing Test cricket. 373,000 people through the gates, the second highest attendance ever in Test cricket, the best in Australia. Pat Cummins said it's as good as he's ever been involved in. How did you see it, Ferg?
Oh, look, it had everything you could ever hope for in a Test match. You look at the first hour of Test cricket, ramps.
That was ridiculous.
It was all happening, charging and hoying to the leg side from Konstas. And then you look at the back end of the Test match as well, bookended by 9 around the bat, last session of an MCG Boxing Day Test match. What more could you ask for, honestly? And every day had a storyline. It was extraordinary.
We will talk more about it shortly with Michael Clark, as I say, the former Aussie captain, joining us. But we look ahead to Sydney just momentarily. Mitch Marsh, is he in the 11, do you think?
Well, I think probably with the amount of overs that he's bowling at the moment, you'd have to make a case that he wouldn't be. Just a pure output of runs, averaging 10, I think, for the series. It's not up to the mark. I heard Andrew McDonald the other day said it's not what they were wanting from Mitch, especially in that number 6 role where you can have such an impact on a game. But, I mean, the team's winning. And what winning does is it allows you to stick longer with players that might be slightly out of form because you've seen them at their absolute best. So for me, I think it'll be a really hard decision, but I don't think that they'll go with him. I think that Bo Webster will come in. Bo
Webster's been with the squad the entire time. What do you think?
I think that's my gut call as well. I think you've got to look at the workload that the bowlers have shared throughout the series, and there was a Test match there where we lost Josh Hazlewood early in the Test, so the guys had to pick up a huge workload there. So I think for the fast bowling brigade, I think they need that extra support going into this Test match.
Mitchell Starc is the other question mark. He was still bowling as fast as ever and bowling beautifully, and he says it's a decision for tomorrow, for next week, as to his fitness for the SCG Test. What do you think? Is there a chance that he could miss his home Test and the series decided potentially?
I don't think that he'll miss. He said that once it warmed up, and Pat agreed that when you do have a little niggle, and particularly if it's not a muscle injury, once it warms up, it's fine. But it's just that first couple of balls that you bowl. He looked in excruciating pain there for a while, but I mean, he would have got through on adrenaline in that last session in particular when he was up in the mid-140s at the back end of the 4th Test match with a high workload. So I think he'll definitely play.
A tight turnaround. If Mitch Marsh does play and then Mitch Starc potentially breaks down, do these selections almost go hand in hand a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you've really got to be managing this very carefully. We've got a Sri Lanka series coming up, and that'll come around quick too. Yeah. So, if you find,
I don't think you can look forward to that though.
No, I agree with that
because this series is so important. This Test match is so important. Yeah. So I think that yes, while the Sri Lankan series is important, I think that's a selection for next week.
So if you pick Starc, can Marsh play, do you think?
I don't think so, purely for the workload.
Yeah, I agree.
Nathan Lyon will have a bigger workload, obviously, with the turn in Sydney. Travis Head might be able to pick up some slack, but I think if you're going in with somebody under a slight injury cloud and Mitch just hasn't bowled the amount of overs that you would expect from the 4th seamer, it'd be a tough. If someone went down, I mean, you can't be bowling a couple of overs a test.
I think you're right, Finchy. I think if we're going into this one with Starkey, I think we need to find someone who's got more overs up their sleeve, I think.
Yeah.
The World Test Championship final, which is what Australia is gunning for, they need to win one more match of their last 3 remaining. They've got a couple, as you say, against Sri Lanka coming up. But South Africa are through in a moment for the tail enders. They were brilliant in the Boxing Day Test, and they were brilliant as well, where Marco Jansen and Rabada, great scenes, embracing each other as they win by just 2 2 wickets, dramatic fashion against Pakistan. It was a great test.
It really was fantastic and a great spectacle. And again, another example of Test cricket and why it's such a great format. We've got far more context around these contests as well, with the Test Championship coming up. But you've got to say Bosch has really provided a huge amount for that. South African cricket team on debut, 5 for 80 with the bat not out. Just an extraordinary performance. So to see that as well, we're seeing these young players come into these lineups and have impacts like Konstas as well. It's incredible to see.
5 wickets, a wicket with his very first ball in Test cricket, bowling at 147 kilometres an hour and 81 not out, batting at 9. Whose debut was better, Sam Konstas or Bosch?
Well, you'd have to say Bosch. I mean, Sam Konstas, he got everybody watching Test cricket in Australia, probably around the world in that first session. But I mean, he did it all. It reminds me of Pat Cummins' debut, like it's such a long time ago. Wickets, bowling fast, hitting the winning runs, being involved in a late partnership to get the job done. Brilliant for Test cricket.
You'll be pleased to know, Ferg, that Temba Bavuma came out and said that when his dismissal fell, he also went to the toilet and absolutely gave it to himself. He said, I missed most of the rest of the match because I was sulking the toilet. You revealed a couple of weeks ago on Around the Wicket on the power play that you were somebody that went and just thought things through in all your gear in the toilet.
That's it, soundproof toilet. Make sure you shut the door behind you. Give yourself a good 10 minutes to really give it to yourself and then get out there and watch your teammates play the rest of the game. That was the key.
One way of putting it, Finchy.
That's it.
Yeah, really. I'm not even going to go there, Ferg. Well done.
World Test Championship format, just quickly, do you think we've got it right? South Africa, so they drew 1-1 with India. They lost 2-0 to New Zealand. Obviously, that was when they took in all the debutants. 1-0 win against the West Indies, 2-0 win against Bangladesh, 2-0 win against Sri Lanka, and 1-0 at the moment with the second test starting on Friday against Pakistan.
Well, it's not their fault. The players are just turning up and playing who is agreed upon between boards and the ICC. So for me, the World Test Championship creates great context of world cricket, of World Test cricket. It makes every test match mean something because you are fighting for that top spot. Unless you're England, they still can't get their head around it, so they don't worry about it. But for everyone else, they want to be there. So it's not South Africa's fault. I think it does need a little bit of tweaking to make it probably more fair overall, but they've played some good cricket besides that loss to New Zealand.
ICC final, does the choking tag apply to South Africa?
Oh.
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, the inability for them to get over the line in semi-finals and finals in World Cups, I think that people will talk about it, no doubt, and I hope that Australia is there. You think at this stage that they will be there, but definitely there'll be some choking tag there attached to it.
Aaron Finch throwing the gauntlet down early.
No,
Don't go
it's just reality. Just reality.
It absolutely is. I'll back him up. When you go into big games, what's happened in your recent history and over for South Africa, a long period of time, will play on their minds. It'll be heavy on them and the media won't let them forget.
Don't go anywhere, Michael Clark, to join us after this short break. We need to talk about that 19-year-old.
I don't even know how Sam handled it. How did Sam handle it?
No, he just smiled it off.
Oh, did he? I don't think much phases the young kid. As we saw yesterday, he was reverse ramping Boomer and I was having a heart attack up in the box. If that's the future, maybe it's time for me to finish.
It was a nice off-cutter. Do you want me to go that deep? Or do you want to... look, I think it was just clear that he hit it. Heard a noise, saw deviation, so it was absolutely certain that he hit it. As soon as we referred it, you could see him drop his head and basically acknowledge that he hit it. On the screen, you can see he hit it. Ultra Edge, I don't think anyone has complete confidence in and didn't really show much, but fortunately there was enough other evidence to show that it was clearly out.
Really, I don't know what to make of that because the technology didn't show anything. But with the naked eye, it seemed that he did touch something. So I don't know how the umpires want to use the technology. But in all fairness, I think he did touch the ball. But again, look, it's about the technology, which we all know is not 100%. But again, like I said, we don't want to really look too much into that. It's just that we are more often than not, we are the ones falling on the wrong side of it.
On the wrong side of it, India, according to Rohit Sharma. Michael Clark joins us now. Pup, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us on New Year's Day. What do you think about those comments, but also DRS? Do we need to tweak the system?
I think they're both spot on. I think Pat and Rohit said it perfectly. I think the right decision at the end of the day was made. I think there was a clear deflection. But technology didn't show it. So extremely confusing. My personal take on technology is if we can't get it 100% right, don't use it. I grew up in a system and a world that I was okay with the human making error, and you live and die by those decisions. Sometimes you get given out when you're not. Over your career, it's probably 50-50. It works its way into that even playing field. So look, I'm as confused as anybody that Snicko didn't work. I'm confused why hotspot isn't used in this series. Well, I'm not confused. I know why. It's because of money. I'm confused why DRS isn't used in every international game, why men's have it, women's don't have it. It all comes down to money. So you either use it for everyone in every series and you use all the technology and you back the technology, or don't use it.
I think that the technology hasn't improved over time. I mean, the game, think of where the game was 15 years ago to where it is now. It's gone through the roof. I think the standard of the game as well and the amount of people playing the game around the world is unbelievable, and the technology just hasn't grown at the same rate. It's disappointing, and like Pup said, if you're not going to keep investing to improve it, then you probably have to take it away eventually.
The game's making a lot of money and we're not investing, and I think that's the key point here. We've got the ability. Hotspot should be in play every series. I don't understand how we're not improving it with the game as we move forward.
Even just with the LBWs as well, that Juswal non-dismissal of Stark as well. So there is a few other moments in the game.
If the technology is not good enough to be able to track that ball accurately and say it's cannoning into leg stump,
yes,
like that's out.
That's right.
And for it to say, that's because of the margin of error, that's ridiculous.
Sam Konstas' debut, Michael Clark. Look, it was no 150 on debut, let's be honest, but he was ramping Jasprit Bumrah, chirping at short leg, engaging the crowd, taking selfies, even got into that little physical bump with Virat Kohli, which may have not been his fault, but he was in absolutely everything. What did you make of it?
Well, if you didn't know Sam Konstas before the MCG Test match, you know him now, that's for sure. Freakish, I'll say, in regards to his batting in the first innings. A different plan to probably any opening batsman that I played with. Maximum risk, maximum reward. So huge congrats to him on making his debut. Having the courage the way he played was exceptional, and to get a win in his first Test match is very special. But yeah, look, it's going to be interesting because he bats his plan to someone like Bumrah and it doesn't come off. You saw he missed the first couple he tried. If he gets his middle stump ripped out, it's going to be an interesting change room to walk back into. But if it does come off, he's an absolute superstar. So very entertaining, and I loved it.
You were known as Pup for a reason. Most of your teammates were a decade older than you. And yes, you made your debut at 23, but this newfound fame, do you have any advice for how he handles it?
I think just try and stay as consistent as you can. I think one of the things, and it probably took me longer than I would have liked to work that out, but I think when you're going well, don't get too high. When you're not playing well, don't get too low. And I think you got to, as a young man or young woman playing sport at the highest level, you need support and help around you. So family, friends, senior players in the team, teammates, just take care of him. There's no doubt he's very talented and he's got a bright future. It's just about trying to enjoy the moment and, like I say, not getting too high and too low.
So not straight down to the dealership to buy Ferrari then, mate?
Probably wait until you get an endorsement with Ford or Toyota, then be an idiot and go and buy a Ferrari. Yeah.
Oh, that is brilliant stuff, Inchi. Well played. The chirping at short leg, what did you think? Because Joshua at one point looked like he was trying to hit him.
100% Jaiswal was trying to hit him.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a young kid who's loving every bit of the game. He's out there, he's ramping Boomer in the third over of a test match. And, I mean, he was just on an upper. But if you listen to Sean Abbott in the lead-up, he said, turn the stump mics up because he's not afraid to have a chirp when he's out in the middle. And, I mean, it's just a part of being a kid. It's just cheeky, isn't it, the way that he went about it. I thought it was great. No doubt that as he continues his international career, that will start to level out. But overall, I think it's good fun.
He helped Usman Khawaja, there's no doubt about it, and made the other veterans in the team reassess things. The youngsters, Konstas, Jaiswal, who's 23 years of age, Nitish Kumar Reddy, a century at 21. The kids go okay. Is it exciting or is it terrifying, Finchy?
I think it's great. I think the entertainment factor is the most important thing in the game. Yes, the fundamentals still need to be there to be a successful test player. Nitish Kumar Reddy, he looks like he's got as good a technique as anyone in that Indian side. He got a brilliant 100. Jaiswal, he's a superstar as well. But like you said, they've all grown up on T20 cricket, and they've probably learnt T20 from a really young age as well. I just think it brings another layer to the game. It's exciting. I love it.
The key that one of the things I really like is you talk all those three players. They actually have a good fundamental base to their game. Technically, very good. But they've played a lot of T20 cricket. So they're actually a nice hybrid, but it comes back to having great fundamentals, and that's why they've made it through to test level, and they've been a chance to be successful.
Pup, you mentioned it though, when it doesn't come off, it looks ugly. Rishabh Pant's 2 dismissals, stupid, according to Border-Gavaskar. And then that last one, well, it was described as a brain fade. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm talking about with Sam. If he's going to play reverse ramp when he's on 6 runs in a test match opening the batting, if he gets away with it where, nobody can leave the TV or can't get off your seat at the ground, so you love it. But if it doesn't come off, you're going to cop criticism. Sonny didn't miss, Risha, that's for sure. That shot in Adelaide come off, hit 2 sixes in the day-night test match. So it's part and parcel. I think his shot in the second innings was one that he'll probably regret even more. I think the situation of the game, they were building a partnership, they were batting so well together, that really was stopping Australia from winning the test match. So I don't think they were going to win that game. Muscle memory, he just reacted. He saw it short, tried to hit it out of the park, but you can hit it hard, but he probably should have just tried to hit it along the ground. But again, that's the way the game goes. And when you're a big player and someone that has scored test match hundreds and there's expectation, if you're getting out like that, you're going to cop criticism. But there's no doubt he's a wonderful player. It's shot selection, it's right time, right place, that's all.
That was the concern, I thought. He was playing a mode that wasn't natural to him, and it was a shot that had hesitation in it, that pull shot off Travis Head. So that's what happens. That's what comes into 4-day and 5-day cricket. In Test cricket, there's enormous pressure. And when you find yourself in those pressure situations, that's when you get that hesitation. Do I go? Do I just keep playing my natural game? Or do I need to shut it down? And that's where he found himself in confusion.
The MCG is also a bit bigger than Aaron Jaitley Stadium in Delhi as well.
That's right.
That goes 20 rows back at the Kotler in Delhi.
Virat Kohli's batting. What have you made of the mode of dismissals this series, Pup?
Aussie to bowl well, very disciplined plan. And they've executed. I think Virat's the type of player, though, in any format, he really thrives on bat on ball. That gives him confidence. He wants to hit the ball. He's never been a big lever. And there's always been that error outside off stump that a lot of teams are targeted because he's such a good player. You get 2 straight, it's, he scores runs for fun on that leg side. So the Aussies have executed very well. And Virat's found it hard not to push at that delivery. I think there's been different forms of, nicking outside off, sometimes back foot, sometimes front foot. I think Starkey provides a great weapon, that left arm across, and I think Paddy Cummins has used him very well. But yeah, Virat will be disappointed. He got 100 in the second innings of the first test, and, he looks in good form. Even in the first innings, before that run out, I thought he was really disciplined and made Australia come to him. That run out happened and then lapse in concentration. So I want to give credit to the Aussie bowlers. But yeah, I think Virat will be disappointed because I think he's in good nick.
The run out, the run in with the reporters at the airport, the exchanges with the crowd. What do you think about his general mental state and emotion at the moment, Finchy?
Well, I think Virat's someone who's always thrived on pressure, and he's thrived when his back's against the wall, and it just feels like at this stage he's trying to put his own back against the wall. He's trying to be antagonistic. He's trying to almost pick a fight because that's when he plays his best, when he feels that someone's coming at him that's when he puts all his skill on show. So it just feels like he's almost pushing other people to make him feel like that. And we haven't seen the best of him yet in this series. But like Pup said, he looked beautiful in that first innings in Melbourne. Looked like he wasn't going to get out. And but Australia have bowled well.
Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill missed out on the 11 in the Boxing Day test. Rohit Sharma, this series scores of 3, 6, 10, 3 and 9. And Pup, as a captain, I did the numbers, he averages 30.58 as captain. Before captaincy, he averaged 46.87. Where is he at the moment, and could this be his last test?
Those numbers are interesting. I think you see that with the number of players. Some people the captaincy helps, some people it doesn't. I certainly think he'll play in Sydney. I don't think they'll drop him. I think Rohit's earned the right, and he's captain. When you're captain, you probably get a little bit more leeway as well. Those numbers don't read great, don't get me wrong, but I think they'll allow Rohit to walk away on his own terms. I've no idea if Sydney will be his last test. I'm not sure what he's thinking. I'm not sure what India's got coming up test cricket-wise. I'm not sure how Rohit feels captaincy-wise. I know he's just had his second child, so who knows what's going to happen there. But I would imagine he'll certainly play in Sydney.
Huge test coming up in England. They're going to England to play a test series there as well. So that's going to be a huge test for someone like Rohit Sharma, who's struggling with his form at the moment.
Yeah, he'll definitely play. I think the alarming thing for me is how well they played under Bumrah's captaincy in Perth. And they've come back here, and it looks an unsettled lineup since he's come back in. But, I mean, he's still a great player. He's a beautiful player to watch, and I hope that he does get some runs.
Yeah, me too.
Speaking of great players, 38 runs required for Steve Smith to finish on 10,000 test runs, or not finish on, to reach 10,000 test runs. Just quickly, Pup, how big a moment is this for your old mate?
He might have a few more than 10,000. Don't worry about that. The way he's batting. Oh, look, Smitty's been an absolute genius. He's in the conversation, apart from Sir Donald Bradman, he's in the conversation for that number 2 spot as Australia's all-time great. I was lucky enough to play alongside Ricky Ponting. A lot of people that saw Greg Chappell reckon he was unbelievable as well. We've been very lucky in Australia to have some wonderful players, but he's certainly up there. The thing he does well is he's got his own style, he's got his own technique, he fidgets more than anybody else I've ever seen, hits so many balls in the nets, but he knows how to make runs. And when he gets a roll on, he's hard to stop. So, 200s in the series already. SCG, home ground, family, friends. Wouldn't surprise me if he went a third. His record against India is phenomenal. He loves winning as well. So don't write him off for in this test match either. Maybe you could see a double.
I love it. 10,000 runs in his home test would be a wonderful way to bring up the milestone. Michael Clark, thank you so much for your time. We'll speak to you after Sydney. Don't go anywhere because we're going to chat about Melbourne Stars' shocking start to the BBL season next. Time to talk about your favourite topic. What is going on with the Melbourne Stars? 5 losses to start the Big Bash.
It's a great question. Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on it, really. I mean, over the years, when you look at the best teams in the Big Bash, I think of Perth, I think of Sydney Sixers. You look at their bowling lineup and you go, geez, we're going to have to play really well tonight to get a score or to chase down a total. If you get a good total, you know that they've always got it there. You look at the Melbourne Stars, and it's happened year after year. The only thing you ever talk about is their batting.
Yeah,
you go, we hope Maxwell or Stoinis doesn't get us, or Ben Duckett on this occasion this year. They've never invested enough in their bowling. I would say a heavy percentage of their salary cap would be in their batting lineup. And to me, that's just the wrong balance for T20.
No, it's an interesting point, Finchy. The other thing I would say is that continuity is something that you see from Sixers, Scorchers, and their leadership. I'd suggest that they've jumped around with their captain in the last few years. We saw, obviously, Maxi handed over to Zamps. Now we're into Stoin now as captain. I wonder whether that's having an impact.
Josh Inglis and the injury, he's out of the test squad after hurting his calf. Calves are tricky.
Oh, yeah.
How's Inglis going to go recovering from this Big Bash Sri Lanka tour?
It's an interesting one because I've done calves before and they feel good really quick. And the issue is that you start to feel good, so you push it harder, and then it goes again. So especially he's 29 years old, so he's not quite into that danger zone.
Old man injury.
Where I started to do them a bit more regularly. But I think that he will play a big role in the test matches in Sri Lanka. He'll make his debut. I think he's a great player of spin. So he'll be really pushing for that. So, yeah, feel for him, though.
It's tough. It hampers his preparation for that Sri Lanka series, which I think I'm on board with you, Finchy. I think he's a real chance to get a crack. So hopefully it doesn't affect his batting preparation. Hopefully he can still get some cricket in time.
Don't go anywhere because we're going to take on the short stuff next.
It is 100 of great romance and valour and excitement and emotion for Nitish Kumar Reddy. Far away from Visakhapatnam, where he grew up in one of the great stadiums of the world at the Melbourne Cricket Ground.
Nitish Kumar Reddy at the age of 21, and his dad was there to see it, and he's made so many sacrifices across the course of his career. This is the short stuff brought to you by Western Union. Fast and reliable international money transfers. Dad was in tears. In the commentary box, Ravi Shastri was in tears. Yep. Has your cricket ever brought somebody to tears?
Brought me to tears plenty of times. When Bhuvaneshwar Kumar used to swing it back onto my front pad, I was almost in tears.
I'll tell you what, his father was crying because he'd made runs. I reckon I brought my dad to tears a few times not making any.
Should Marsh be banned from appealing?
Yes, he should be. It's getting a bit ridiculous. I think Pat Cummins has found a really good balance in not even considering him in a DRS decision, though.
Ban him from appealing until at least 3 or 4 of his mates have appealed first.
Yeah.
Sam Konstas' moustache, it's not exactly, you know... It needs some work. It hasn't developed yet. What do we feel about it?
It adds a bit of dirtiness and filth to the chat in at bat pad, doesn't it? I don't know. Like it just looks a bit seedy, and I like it.
Does it make the chirping worse, or you know, when you're batting there and looking at it?
Just a kid on debut who's giving you a mouthful at silly mid-off. That's good fun. I'm all for it.
No, it's great.
Pat Cummins, night watchman in Perth. Then he's under the lid in the Boxing Day Test. Is there anything that Captain Pat won't do?
No, absolutely not. If there's a contest to be had, he wants to be a part of it. That's why we love him.
Winning a test match for Australia is so important, and he's prepared to do whatever he has to get Australia over the line. I love it.
Australia head to Sydney leading 2-1. We'll see you after the SCG Test.